So we'll go ahead and get started. We have a good amount of folks that have joined us here. Throughout the entire webinar presentation, we are going to be using that Q&A feature. I'll reference it in a little bit here as well. Let's go ahead and kick off today's webinar. So hello, everyone. My name is Chris Kapansky. Thanks for joining us today for our partner webinar of Wealthbox CRM and White Swan. So today's presenters are going to be myself covering Wealthbox. My name is Chris Kapansky. I'm a senior product specialist here on the Wealthbox team. But we're also joined by Pontus and Paul from the White Swan team. I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
Hey guys, I'm Pontus Lagerberg. I'm the CEO of White Swan, and on a day-to-day basis, I'm mainly leading the product team to build out our digital platform and leverage modern technology to improve the user experience in accessing a universe of accumulation and protection-focused insurance solutions. So I've built software for a long time, and previously I co-founded a successful consumer business. I built algorithms for investment management, and I've published a best-selling finance book. And I'm very excited for this webinar today because I think in these times of tax hikes and market volatility, life insurance is a very powerful arrow for advisors to have in their quiver. And I think our partnership and integration with Wealthbox makes it easier than ever before for advisors to really offer that premium experience for any type of life insurance solution. So yeah, excited. And I'm going to hand it over to Paul.
Hey everybody, Paul Simmons. I'm the Chief Insurance Officer at White Swan. Prior to joining White Swan, I started in the insurance/financial services industry with Prudential as an agent, spent some time there, moved over to M Financial Group, working case analysis and underwriting for one of their company's high net worth divisions. And prior to joining White Swan, I was leading a competitive intelligence team at New York Life, focused on life insurance. And my day-to-day operations, as you can guess, it's center and focus around life insurance. What do we have on the platform? Working with Pontus to make sure that our algorithms and our logic engines are running properly and making appropriate initial recommendations. It's something that I enjoy doing, but I also like to get my hands kind of into the cases. So if there are any advanced planning topic cases, any larger cases that require coordination on reinsurance, so on and so forth, I like to get involved with our kind of white glove concierge service as well. And kind of leading our team of client success advisors and making sure that they're trained to do exactly what we want, which is work towards the client's best interest in finding the appropriate solution. So again, super pumped to be here as well. Looking at Wealthbox CRM interface and White Swans are like, this is the perfect marriage for financial advisors to kind of get out there and wealth managers to go ahead and get life insurance as that quiver, as Pontus so aptly put. So appreciate your time, appreciate being here, and I'll turn it back over to Chris.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining me here today. So just to cover a little bit of the agenda during the webinar, we're going to start off with a very quick look at Wealthbox for anyone that's not familiar, after which I will hand back over to Pontus and Paul to talk about a little bit more about White Swan, what it is and how it integrates and what we can kind of expect from that. But then towards the end, we're going to be able to open up for any questions. So throughout any of the presentations, if anyone does have any questions, you could click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. It's within the Zoom panel. Type in your question, and we'll get to that question at the very end of the presentation. So now let's jump into kind of a quick introduction of Wealthbox. Just a little bit about Wealthbox. Wealthbox is a modern, easy-to-use CRM for financial advisors. We do offer complimentary migrations from any other CRM that you might be using. And if you would like to learn more, you could always head on over to wealthbox.com. You could jump right into a 14-day free trial or join one of our daily live demos. But for this presentation, I'll actually go into my demo environment and talk a little bit more about what you can expect to see in Wealthbox. So the first page that you see when you first log into Wealthbox is your dashboard. This is your main home page, but it's also the main page that you'll find yourself going back to. After a client meeting or after a project, you go back to the dashboard to kind of reset and see what's next, where you need to be next. So just to get a quick kind of lay of the land here, across the top, we find the customizable name of your firm on the left, and then you'll find your own name at the top right. I'm currently logged in as Brad Creedon, who is a financial advisor. Then as we take a look along the left-hand side, this is where we find our main navigation. So you could go into your list of contacts, your tasks, workflows, you'll find your calendar, etc. And at the very bottom, a recently viewed section to quickly go right back to a client's page that you were just working with. But then we have these different components across the center and the right-hand side, where that right-hand side is always going to show you your upcoming activities. So if there are any meetings that you need to be at, or if there are any tasks or workflow steps that you are assigned to, you will find that across the right-hand side, but that will also include active workflows. You'll find upcoming special dates, which are client birthdays, anniversaries, client since dates. You'll also find any active opportunities. So the right-hand side effectively becomes the what's next. When you reset back to the dashboard, you look at the right-hand side, where am I needed? Where do I need to go? But then besides just the upcoming activities, we also have the center here, which includes our publisher at the very top, and then the associated activity stream directly underneath. The activity stream of Wealthbox is basically where you'll find everything that's happening within your workspace. So if anyone on your team is having conversations with clients, making phone calls, assigning or completing tasks, progressing an opportunity through your pipeline, all these updates will be added into the activity stream and cascade into that stream. There's a lot of collaborative functionality here too. We can actually go in and add replies. We can ask a quick question. We can add a comment. We can notify one another of that being added. So not only does it save you time, so you don't have to email or text each other, but it also gives you that context. When you revisit that activity a year later, you'll know exactly what you discussed internally about that activity. Now, we of course do have the ability to filter this activity stream by types of activities if we just wanted to see notes or tasks. So you can actually drill further into what conversations are being held. And we also have the ability to search by keywords. So if you wanted to find the last conversation in regards to life insurance policy, you could type in life insurance and that will kind of narrow down your results. But let's take a closer look at that publisher at the very top. This is what you'll use to add new activities. So from here, we can add notes, we can create contacts, we can assign tasks, schedule new meetings, and create opportunities. All of these are here to save you time so that you don't have to go into a different section or look up a contact just to add that activity. You can do that directly from your dashboard. But when talking about efficiency, reduction of clicks is always something that comes up. And I wanted to talk a bit more about the ability to add a note. Because in a lot of other CRMs, to add a note to a client's record, you typically have to look them up in your search box, go through your results, click on their name, find a note section and some drop down. It's a lot of clicks. On average, it's about 6 or 7 clicks to add a note in a lot of the other CRMs in this market. In Wealthbox, we've simplified that by a lot. So let's say I do receive a call from a client. Just to confirm our meeting, I could go ahead and click right into my publisher, and I can start typing in my note that I received a call from. And then using our built-in at mentioning feature, I could hit the @ sign and start typing in my client's name. This activates a search feature, shows me contacts that match what I'm typing in. I'm looking for Delilah Jones. I see her name at the top. So I'll go ahead and click enter on my keyboard, finish up that note. Upcoming meeting. And I could go ahead and post that once I'm all set. And that's 2 clicks. 2 clicks to add that note. That note is now archived. It's timestamped. It's worm compliant. But it's also labeled that it's related to Delilah, and it shows up on Delilah's record. It shows up on the household. And of course, it tells us exactly who added that note. Now, that was an example of a very simple note. Of course, there's a ton more detail we can add there. We can format the note. We can dictate the note using our built-in transcription feature. If you like to jot down notes on a piece of paper, you can just read that off into the system. You can also standardize your notes with templates, as well as tag those notes if you wanted to easily pull those up at a later time based on the type of conversation that happened. But let's go down to that note that was just added. We can, of course, see that it's related to Delilah Jones. I could go ahead and click on her name. First thing that you'll see is this quick view slide out from the side where I could easily call her back or send an email, but I could go ahead and click on her name again. And that takes us into the contact record page of the individual client. And this is what all of your clients' profiles would look like. You'll actually notice right away that the layout is similar to what we just saw on the dashboard. Publisher, activity stream, upcoming activities on the right-hand side. And this allows for an easier and quicker onboarding of Wealthbox. Once you're comfortable with the dashboard, you'll be comfortable with the client record. You'll be comfortable with the project, so you don't have to relearn every single page that you're on. Now, of course, this is the individual's record, so we do have a snapshot at the very top that shows us, who is this? Delilah Jones. What is her household? What is her company? Both of these are hyperlinks that take you into that separate contact. We also have all the contact information we have on this client, as well as any tags. Tags are your top of mind categories for that client. If Delilah Jones happens to have a life insurance policy, I can apply that tag at the very top and I'll know exactly who I'm working with when I open up that contact. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the communication features before we take a closer look at White Swan here. So if you wanted to call the client, instead of you having to take out your phone, look up at the screen and dial out, we actually have a built-in click to call feature. This feature allows us to initiate a phone call directly out of the CRM. So what we would do instead of dialing out is we hit place call. And what happens now is you receive a call on your phone, you pick up the phone, and that dials out to the client. So not only will that save you a couple of seconds of dialing out, but it will also log the fact that a phone call was made at this time by this person. Now, of course, we can add a reply to that activity once it does pop up, but we're already right here where that publisher is at the very top. And we could go ahead and start typing in the note, what are we talking about? What are our next steps here? And outside of phone calling, emailing is just as, if not more important in terms of communicating with your clients. We do have a built-in email companion tool called Wealthbox Mail. This feature allows us to actually connect your email server inside of the CRM, and we'll have the ability to send emails just like you would in Gmail or Outlook. We'll have a lot of the same formatting features as you do right now at the very top. We also have the ability to plug in email templates, swap out our signatures. We can track whether clients are opening emails or set reminders for emails that might not have been replied to in a certain amount of time. And this is just scratching the surface. Wealthbox Mail does also give us our entire inbox view where we can see emails that are coming in. We'll know right away if it's coming from a contact that's already in the CRM, or if it's a brand new prospect, we can create that contact on the spot as well. But going back to the client's record, there's also a dedicated email tab here where we'll find all of our email communication aggregated into this one tab. So we'll always be able to see the last time you sent an email, last time you received an email. We can see what others on your team are exchanging with the client, and it's completely automatic. It doesn't matter if you're sending the email from Wealthbox or from Outlook, it will pull in here. It will also go back and pull the history of emails as well. As long as it's in your email server, if you connect that Wealthbox Mail feature today, you'll find all of your history of emails pulling in here automatically. And these are the actual emails, so we can go into an email that we might have exchanged with them years ago. We could forward it right back over to them. And if there is an action item in that email, we can even set up a follow-up task, schedule a meeting, start a workflow, or create an opportunity. So that's the email feature. That's just one of the great integrations that we have here in Wealthbox. We actually integrate with over 100 different integration partners. White Swan is one of those. So that was kind of a quick introduction to the layout of Wealthbox. Again, if you are interested in learning more, you can head on over to wealthbox.com. We offer a 14-day free trial as well as a daily live demo to give you a full walkthrough of Wealthbox. So I'll go ahead and hand it off to the White Swan team here that's here with us to talk a little bit more about White Swan.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chris. Really appreciate that. So before we jump into the tech and the integration, which is really what this call is about, I want to share with you a little bit more about White Swan and why would you partner with White Swan? What is our value add? What sets us apart? And to do that, just go through a couple of the benefits that we bring. Number one, and this is probably the most important, is best interest. We are completely independent. We are not tied to any specific life insurance carrier. We can access everything and anything out there. We are product and carrier agnostic. The recommendations, again, they don't have anything to do with a bonus going on or a vacation or a trip. Everything is focused on the long-term best interest of your client. And perhaps most importantly on this slide is that the recommendations that are made are all backed by industry experts such as myself or a member of our client success team that has significant training on making sure that we're bringing forth the best interest-based life insurance recommendations. Now, in order to have a best interest standard upheld, I feel like you have to be able to access everything. So like I mentioned, not only do we have products and carriers, everything out there, but every type of life insurance from 1-year term through regular term through retail permanent policies like indexed universal life or whole life, all the way up to registered products like private placement life insurance and variable universal life. Transparency is another piece that we feel is really important, not only for ourselves and clients, but also for our partners such as you. We want to make sure that you're able to see everything that's going on in the case. One of the things when we designed this system that we were trying to address that we heard from RIAs was that I don't know what's being recommended. I don't know what an advisor's putting in force, why they're making this recommendation. We said, let's get rid of all of that questioning. Let's just give you everything. Here's access to the client record. Here's the illustration. Here's a recommendation. Hey, schedule a Zoom meeting with one of our client success managers that's handling the case. Talk through it. Make sure it fits into your overall financial plan for the client. And if your ADV allows for it, we also do allow our partners to participate in the revenue that comes in from these cases being put in force. So you have a complete breakdown and insight into earnings. We try to make everything as simple as possible. We feel that your biggest asset and your client's biggest asset is your time. So anywhere we can leverage technology, whether it be ours or carriers we work with in accelerated underwriting, it's all geared to save you time. So you're able to sync data similar to what Chris was showing you. We are one of those partners with Wealthbox. We can sync with other apps. You can embed our digital life insurance experience into your site, make it look like part of your site, your colors, your fonts, everything. And we can, most importantly, this is a very agile platform. We can tailor it exactly and specifically to your practice. To dive into the technology a little bit further, I'm going to turn it over to Pontus.
Thank you so much, Paul. So essentially what we're seeing in front of us right now is the dashboard. You'll get to this dashboard after you create a free account with us. Takes around 3 minutes to get it set up. You can set an account up with Google or with email and password. And you can also invite however many users you want from your company. You can also control who accesses what with permission features. But finally, you'll get to this dashboard, right? And on here, you can track all cases that are going on within your account. You can start new cases. But the coolest feature, in my opinion, here is these pages that you can actually reuse over and over again to offer different types of experiences for buying life insurance solutions. So any of these pages can be shared directly. You can copy this link, put it onto your website, put it into your marketing or your communications. We also do offer these templated messages here for email, text, and social media. But something that is very cool here, like Paul mentioned, is we actually do allow you to embed these experiences directly inside of your own website. You can do this in a very seamless way where you're syncing the colors and the fonts of your website to what the White Swan experience is showing, to make it look very much part of your ecosystem and continue to build that trust with your clients. In terms of all of these pages, they have a lot of customization options, like Paul mentioned, and we do have two different types of pages here. Number one is the general page, and this will be used when you don't particularly know what type of policy that your client should be looking at. So I'll show you a little bit later. These pages do have a recommendation engine built into them, which takes your client's goals and preferences into consideration to make an appropriate recommendation for a certain type of policy. If you, however, have a history of working with a certain type of product, I know a lot of you are probably very familiar with term, for example. We do also offer these product-specific pages. So these pages will only provide access to one type of product. And just like Paul mentioned before, we really do cover the whole gambit of products here: variable, indexed, whole life, guaranteed universal life, term life, even private placement life insurance. And so all of this is available right when you sign up. If you need any guidance on how to use the platform, we are always one call away, but we also do have a very extensive knowledge base where all the instructions of how to use our platform is very well documented. And here we've built out a nifty little AI feature where you can just ask a question in natural language and then get an immediate response, which is pretty cool as well. In terms of creating a revenue stream with White Swan, we do offer partners two ways of doing this. Number one is referring clients directly, and number two is referring other partners to the platform. We do allow you to get pretty granular with your insights into the earnings. If you open up this page right here, you can see an earnings log. You can see what you earned from what case, and you can even break it down per advisor on your firm if you want to do some sort of an internal split. Now, let's have a look at the integrations. So today we're going to do a deep dive into our Wealthbox integration. But before we do so, I quickly want to mention that we also do have a Zapier integration, which makes it super simple, even for someone without any technical knowledge at all, to set up automations between White Swan and more than 6,000 other business applications. And for those of you out there who are more developer-like, such as myself, we also do offer a public API for you guys to build a very, very custom integration with. Now, in terms of the Wealthbox integration, I've already connected my account to Wealthbox. When you go to this page, which you, by the way, can access through the header menu right here, you're going to have to connect Wealthbox. You're going to press a button here that says connect. It's going to open up a Wealthbox window. You're going to be asked to allow White Swan to access your Wealthbox account. And as soon as you press OK there, you're going to have an active integration like we see here. A couple of features that you are getting with one click here with Wealthbox. Number one, if someone were to come through one of your pages that isn't already in your Wealthbox CRM, that person will be added as a new contact inside of your Wealthbox CRM. Whenever there are events happening related to a case through one of your White Swan pages, notes will automatically be created inside of Wealthbox. You can control here which exact notes get applied and which doesn't, but we do have a lot of that back and forth to keep you in the loops of things. Additionally, you are able to write here, just search for a particular client and import them into White Swan. But today I wanted to also show you guys how you can do this directly within Wealthbox. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up a client file inside of Wealthbox, and you're going to find this little button right here that says send to. Press this, press White Swan. This is going to be available after you connect your account. And once you do this, you'll have the contact imported to White Swan like this. At this point, you can start a new plan for this client. Today, we're going to have a look at the recommendation engine. So I'm going to say that I don't know what policy type I'm looking for. We can also control who receives communication related to this case. So this can be only the client, it can be only you, it can be both of you as well. For now, we're going to do both of us. And this will take a few moments, but what happens behind the scenes here essentially is that we're leveraging the data that you already have on the client to very much streamline not only the request experience, but also the application experience. So at this point, you can send this directly to the client. Our entire experience is simple enough to be used by anyone. So you don't have to be a finance professional to go through this. But a lot of advisors will choose to do this themselves either ways. So we're going to do that now. And what we can do here is we can ask, help me find a plan. And all throughout our experience, we have embedded a lot of education without making it overwhelming for the user. So as you can see here, we've used a lot of tooltips, which can provide a lot of additional details without necessarily making the whole experience feel very complicated. And so in this recommendation engine, we ask about goals. We have 9 questions here about preferences surrounding accumulation, protection, and premiums. And I'm just going to go through these real quick here, but when your client goes through these, they also get to understand better some of the considerations that goes into really getting one of these plans. So at this point, we're going to show them a sample plan that is based on their preferences, a recommended plan where this is not tailored to your clients. Rather, this is just to give them an overview of what this plan can do for them. So they have this little slider here. This will be a slider for premium if you're accumulation focused. If you're protection focused, it will be a slider for death benefit. And down here, they can see sample results of what this amount of premium in this case could do for them. So they could get into how the cash value will grow, how they can take out a retirement income, how their death benefit will grow, their IRRs. They can even get as granular as looking at the individual accounts that this plan is allocated to, as well as the riders. So at this point, If they like what they're seeing, they can go ahead here and start to request a personal plan. Now, there's 3 sections to the plan request. Number 1 is the personal section. In this section, we ask a few simple questions about the insured person, like gender, tobacco usage, date of birth, etc. The second question, or the second section, policy, we ask a few very basic policy questions like how much coverage you need. As you can see on this page, we also have a coverage calculator. We also ask about premium budget, for how long they want to pay premiums, or how long they want the term of their term life policy to be, etc. And then finally, we have this last extra section. And this section is actually completely optional. If your clients don't want to go through this, they don't have to. And going through these first 2 sections takes approximately 3 minutes. So it can be a very speedy request if they're looking to do that. But if they want to go deep and really customize the plan, we also allow them to do that right here. In this section, they can do everything from planning for retirement income, selecting the allocation accounts of the plan, selecting the riders, planning for one-time deposits, and so on and so forth. But essentially, once all this is completed, all this information will be passed on to their client success manager. And I'll let Paul explain what happens at this point.
Great. Thanks so much, Anna. So at this point, we're going to move into the personal plan. They're going to get a link via email, text, so on and so forth, with a link to their personal plan. So what we have here is a VUL, very similar layout to what Panis just went through. So I'll be brief about it. But if we scroll down a little bit, we're going to see that we have the policy proposal. So the actual 50, 60 page illustration, as well as the prospectus. Want to make sure that you and the client have access to all the information you need at any time. But if that client is not an insomniac and is not having trouble falling asleep, rather than reading 60 pages, we extract all those major values. Now, the boxes that you see here, the images, very cool images, by the way, but the boxes, the values, you'll see a death benefit, initial death benefit age 80. Those values will come and go depending on what the client's need is. Those boxes that are not necessary, like if you say, hey, Paul, this is a protection case, we're doing estate planning, there's nothing for accumulation, right? You don't have to say that. Our system knows it, and it'll get rid of the IRRs and cash value. It'll get rid of what would have been an income stream, so on and so forth, and we do that. And as we scroll down, you'll see, as Panis mentioned before, we've got our riders that give a brief explanation and why it was added to the policy, as well as our allocations. One thing I'll say about the allocations, we really feel less is more. That's enough information for most clients. But if you have a client that likes to see the details, we've got everything from fund inception date to min-max return over the last 10 years, managing institutions, sub-account fees, so on and so forth, all right there in front of you. Now, at this point, if the client decides, I'm not sure about this, they can ask for a change. They can request an alternate or 2 alternates, and then compare and contrast all those pretty much side by side to get to whatever policy is that we all believe is the right one for them. But once they're ready to apply, they've got 2 options. They can either dial up a call with a client success manager. We can do it like we're doing now on Zoom or over the phone. Or we have an online application that has enterprise level SOC 2 security, SOC 2 compliant, HIPAA compliant as well. And when we go in there, we pick up a lot more information. And what you'll see here, you're like, this doesn't look like a carrier app, Paul. That's a question I get a lot. Why don't we just have them pre-fill the carrier app? Reason being, everything we know about this client, their health history, their background right now is self-assessed based on a couple of questions. Usually gives us a decent metric as far as where to put them, as far as their health rating is concerned. But here we get additional information that will either uncover additional needs or ownership discrepancies, or within the health section, this is where we really see it, is that something in the health history causes us to either pause and talk with the client because we never want to decline with the MIB on their record, or causes us to pivot carriers to a carrier that's more favorable with any type of a medical condition, so on and so forth. And that's the application process. Once we apply for this, we are going to handle pretty much everything else for you, giving you an idea of the insurance operations that we handle. We guide them through the application. We take care of underwriting, whether you want to call it working with the underwriters or arguing with the underwriters, depending on your experience, you think of it one way or the other, all the way through issuance and delivery. We handle in-force servicing. We need to make an ownership change. We need to make a payment option change. You need an in-force illustration for a client review meeting for an annual review, or you want us there to help you with the annual review. We're there. Carrier appointments is kind of I don't want to call it unintended, but an ancillary benefit that we provide. The way that we've structured it and the payouts for compensation for our partners, you don't have to get appointed with any carriers. So if you think about it, if you're looking at clients in, let's say, 30 states, 10 carriers per state, that's 300 carrier appointments that you could potentially have to fill out online. Don't have to do any of that because the way we're structured, we are the writing agent on the case and they are your clients. Just a very brief review of the benefits. We're best interest based. We have access to all types of products and most every carrier under the sun. We provide the most in transparency. If there's something you'd like to see and you don't see it there, it's something we can probably add for you. And we try to make your life simpler utilizing technology. A quick summary of the integration. I know we gave you a lot of information today. You're able to send stuff directly from Wealthbox to us, send stuff from White Swan directly to Wealthbox, get notified on any client activity that happens, and utilize the client data collected to help improve their experience. So I appreciate everyone's time today. I hope that was helpful. I'm going to turn it back over to Chris. I think we've got a little bit more.
All right. And if anyone does have any other questions like that, Paul's email is up on the screen. Feel free to reach out directly. If anyone is curious to learn a bit more about Wealthbox, sales@wealthbox.com. But I'd like to say thanks to everyone that has participated in this partner webinar with us. Appreciate the participation. Appreciate everyone that took the time out of their Tuesday to hear us out here a little bit. And Pontus, Paul, thank you both so much. This is an amazing partner integration. So I'm very excited to have this part of our tool belt, so to speak here. So it's amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Of course. Yeah. And again, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.